You got the job, the relationship, the house you used to drive past and imagine yourself living in. On paper, your life is exactly what younger you was chasing, and somewhere in the middle of having it, on a random Tuesday for no visible reason, you feel nothing. Not sad exactly, just quiet in a way that scares you a little, because you did everything right and this wasn't supposed to be how it felt. Maybe you've told yourself you're just tired or ungrateful, or that you need a new goal to snap you out of it. A bigger house, a better title, something to finally prove the last one wasn't a fluke. You've probably felt guilty about the emptiness itself on top of the emptiness, because complaining about a good life feels almost embarrassing to say out loud. The easy explanation is that you just haven't found the right thing yet. Wrong job, wrong relationship, wrong goal. Chase something else, the logic goes, and eventually the emptiness will fill in. Millions of people run on that assumption their entire lives. It's wrong. Not because ambition is bad, because it doesn't explain why this keeps happening no matter what the thing actually is. There's a name for the real mechanism, and it goes back to a study from 1971 by psychologists Philip Brickman and Donald Campbell. They called it the hedonic treadmill. The idea is blunt. No matter how good or bad something that happens to you is, your brain doesn't let the feeling stay. It recalibrates quietly back to whatever your baseline was before, and then it starts measuring everything new against that same reset point. You don't get to keep the high, you get to adjust to it, and then start wanting the next thing that might get you back there. Here's where it stops being theoretical. In 1978, Brickman, alongside Dan Coates and Ronnie Janoff Bullman, tracked down actual lottery winners, people who'd had their entire financial life transformed overnight, and compared them to a control group of ordinary people. The lottery winners were not, on average, happier. That part you might expect. What you probably wouldn't expect is the detail buried underneath it. The winners reported taking noticeably less pleasure from small, ordinary moments, a conversation with a friend, a good meal, a joke, than the people who hadn't won anything at all. Getting everything didn't just fail to raise their happiness, it seems to have quietly dimmed their ability to enjoy the small stuff that used to be enough. So the emptiness isn't a malfunction that only hits you. It's not proof you chose wrong. It's a documented, repeatable feature of how the reward system in your head is built. And you'd think that's the full answer. It isn't. It leaves one question completely untouched. If your brain resets that fast, why does the chase feel so real while it's happening? Why does the goal feel like it will be different every single time, right up until you get there? That answer sits somewhere your conscious mind can't actually see, in the specific chemistry of wanting itself. For decades, most scientists assumed dopamine was simply the brain's pleasure chemical, the thing that made good stuff feel good. Then a researcher named Kent Berridge at the University of Michigan ran an experiment that broke that assumption apart. He was studying rats and how they reacted to sweet liquid, watching for a very specific, almost involuntary lip-licking response that shows up whenever an animal genuinely likes what it's tasting. Berridge expected that blocking dopamine in their brains would kill that reaction. Proof. Dopamine created the pleasure itself. It didn't. The rats stopped working for the sweet liquid almost entirely, lost basically all motivation to go get it, but when it was placed directly in front of them, their faces still showed they liked it exactly as much as before. What Berridge had actually found was a split nobody had cleanly separated before. Wanting and liking are not the same system. Dopamine drives wanting, the pull, the anticipation, the reason you can't stop checking, chasing, striving, liking. The actual pleasure of having something runs on a completely separate, much smaller, and more fragile circuit that barely involves dopamine at all. Think about the last time you were counting down to something. The trip, the offer letter, the reply you kept refreshing for. Be honest, the best part wasn't the moment it finally arrived. It was the week before, lying awake running it in your head. That wasn't your imagination being dramatic. That was the actual chemical doing its actual job, and its job was never to reward the having. Researchers once asked assistant professors years before their tenure decision how much getting it would affect their happiness. Almost all of them predicted it would matter enormously. It didn't. No meaningful difference between the ones who got it and the ones who didn't. Not because it doesn't matter, but because your own wanting system already cashed in years earlier on the anticipation alone. You've felt this. The thing you thought would change everything, once it's actually yours, already feels like it was always yours, like it never even happened. Which brings you back to that quiet Tuesday, standing inside the life you built, feeling nothing, where you expected relief. You'd think by now you'd have the real answer. Brain resets. Wanting and liking split. Case closed. It's not closed. None of that explains why the system is built this way in the first place. Why it would design you to feel this specific gap on purpose, over and over, for your entire life. Here's the part that's actually hard to hear, and also, oddly, the part that might let you off the hook. Your brain was never built to reward you for having enough. It was built across an almost unimaginable stretch of evolutionary time to reward you for continuing to want more. Because the version of your ancestors who felt fully satisfied, who stopped scanning for the next threat or the next opportunity, generally didn't outsurvive the ones who never quite settled. Contentment, for most of the human history, was a liability disguised as a reward. The system driving you right now isn't broken. It's ancient, and it's doing exactly what it was built to do, which was never your happiness. It was your continued motion, which means the emptiness on a good day was never a verdict on your life. It was a reading. And here's what it's actually telling you. Your brain was never built to measure happiness. It was built to measure distance. That's it. That's the whole system. Not broken, not malfunctioning, not waiting for the right achievement to finally switch off. It doesn't have an off switch. It has a ruler, and the ruler only knows one thing: how far you still have to go. Arrival doesn't register on it. Arrival was never a unit it could read. There's a reason some things do seem to genuinely dull that hum, at least for a while, and it's not more achievement. Researchers Edward Dacey and Richard Ryan, studying what actually sustains people long term, kept landing on the same three ingredients, regardless of income or status. Feeling like your choices are your own, feeling capable at something that matters to you, and feeling connected to other people, not impressed by you, just genuinely with you. None of those three things are destinations. You can't arrive at them once and keep them the way you can't arrive at a feeling and keep it either. They have to be kept doing over and over, which sounds exhausting until you realize that's exactly what the wanting system was built for in the first place. It just needs something to keep wanting that isn't a finish line. So maybe stop trying to out-earn a ruler that was never built to measure arrival in the first place. You were never behind. You were just being measured by something that doesn't know how to say enough.